Welcome back to another episode of Speaking Tongues. I'm here today with Dani. Dani is a Galician language teacher and content creator on social media. He graduated with a degree in history from the University of Santiago de Compostela. 2 years ago, he proudly launched his project Galician with Dani with a clear goal to showcase the beauty of the Galician language and culture while also building a community of new Galician speakers. Dani, I'm so happy to have you on the show today. How are you?
I'm fine, man. Thank you so much for having me. Hello, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm delighted to talk to you today and to learn about Galician, to learn about your language and your culture. I'm so excited.
Thank you so
Um,
much.
I like to start each episode with the same question, which is what is your first language and which languages have you learned to speak?
All right, that's not the easiest question
Mhm.
because I'm technically bilingual, but that's bilingualism is such a complicated thing. So my parents are Spanish speakers, Castilian and Spanish speakers, but technically, by law, I am bilingual. I come from the most Chileanized speaking part of Galicia, where we speak Galician, and it should be like, ideally, like I should be able to switch from one language to the other one pretty easily. Now I do, but it was not like that when I was a kid, through my teenage years.
Mhm.
And now I do speak both my native languages, Castilian and Spanish and Galician. And like most people, I have learned English since I was a child.
Mhm.
And during my adulthood, my adult years, maybe I should say, I have learned Italian and I have lived in Italy. I'm very proud of being able to speak in both these languages, although I feel a little rusty lately.
It happens. I'm rusty with my Italian too, so we're in the same boat. You said it wasn't easy for you to switch between Galician and Spanish when you were younger. What is that? What do you mean by that?
When I was a kid, Galicia was part of the educational curriculum. Every teacher has an opinion. They are entitled to have an opinion, of course, but the truth is not everybody taught me Galician when lessons should be in Galician, should have been in Galician.
Mhm.
Um, it changed every year. It could change the situation, but the reality is that being from this particular part of Galicia where Castilian Spanish is the norm, the, you know, it was difficult to learn it. My family was again Castilian and Spanish speakers. Then I went to high school, and everybody there was kind of embarrassed of speaking it because of that there is a whole bunch of stereotypes surrounding the Galician language, and people often could say, and I have said it, how ashamed I was of my level, and that would not allow me to speak it. Not until I was an adult, and
Mhm.
I realized, oh, I have this part of my identity, this part of my culture that I really want to preserve, revitalize. I am actually proud of this part, so I'm going to take it back.
Yeah.
So now I can switch from a language to another, but just because I put all my efforts to
Mm.
do, but not everybody can do the same.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of prejudice that being the main reason for this.
Mhm. Were there at that time, I guess you said when you got to high school, were there a lot of students in your classes? Were there a lot of students that you knew who maybe spoke Galician at home or heard it spoken at home and they were ashamed to speak it outside of the home? Or was it that kind of dynamic? Or I don't know. I'm trying to understand how the Spanish and the Galician lived together with your
Yeah, I understand. That's a really good question. I would say that it is different for every kid, every person. Like some of us, we will have parents that could mostly speak in Spanish. They have had parents that mostly speak in Spanish, spoke in Spanish. We all have that uncle or that grandpa or grandma that would speak Galician.
Mm,
And, you know, we might talk to them in that language, but the most common thing I would say it is like mixing, like you could mix both languages. You might not even know which language are you using. We have a particular word for the mix of Galician and Castilian Spanish, which is castrapo.
Astra
But yeah, but well, it has a little bad reputation. Oh, you're speaking castrapo. If you're not able to speak neither Spanish good or Galician good, there is also like some
mhm,
stigma.
the stigma.
So we would a- always have someone that speak speaks Galician to us, but then as teenagers that only consume Spanish TV, and like there is this accent we should not have, etc. So we would use the language depending on the context.
I see. Okay. That's a lot. That's a lot for a young person to carry with them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just the language part. Then you have the body part, the love part, the growing,
Mhm.
the coming of age part. Like
Yeah.
this is just another layer.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell me about Galician. Tell me about the language itself, what you know about it. How does it stand apart from Spanish? Maybe in terms of grammar, vocabulary, or pronunciation? And Galicia as a region, how does the language change as you move through the region, maybe from a city out to the countryside and good stuff like that?
Yeah, again, it's not easy to talk about it in a general way, but I can confirm Galician and Spanish and Castilian Spanish particular are pretty similar. All right. We do share a lot of vocabulary. I'm not trying to hide that because people can get defensive if I say that I speak Galician because they would often respond that's a dialect either from Portuguese or yeah, Spanish. I get that a lot. But between among the grammar and the vocabulary, I think we can confirm it's a separate language. It's the conversation around Portuguese is much more difficult because it is said that they kind of became apart because of political reasons once Portugal got separated from
Mm.
the crown of Castile, blah 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 blah. um, and yeah, we do share a lot of vocabulary both with Castilian Spanish and Portuguese. I would say that with grammar, there's more differences. For
Okay.
instance, I think you call them in English compound tenses. Yeah, we do not use them in Galicia. So we do not use them. They are not natural in Galicia. Even when we speak in Castilian and Spanish, we do not use them because we are not used to them.
Oh,
So you would say, I have eaten. I would say, I would say, I ate. And that's something very, very common. It is not common for us to use them. Like we would say, eu comi, I ate.
yeah, cool.
Uh, but not, wouldn't use the compound tenses. And then we have phonetics. We do have some particular sounds that are not common in Spanish.
Mhm,
And specifically, we have this sound. We are recognized, but this sound, the sh sound that you have in English, the
mhm,
she,
mhm.
shine. We we do have that. A lot of words that in Castilian Spanish are with J or G are with sh, the
Oh,
X sound in Galician. Yes. For the X, we have two different sounds, the X sound, the classical one, the exam text sound, and then we have the Shente, Jaime, Xavier sound. We do have this sound.
I love that.
So we get recognized for that phonetically.
Mm-hmm.
And then Galicia as a region, you said, it changes. We have officially 3 different dialects. Like it's pretty organized: Eastern, Central, and Western dialect.
Mm-hmm.
And we have our differences. Some of them are specifically like vocabulary things, how we do the plurals. And then we have some phonetic phenomena. We have in some parts the H sound that you have in English for house.
Mm-hmm.
We do that for some words. Like in Spanish, you would say gato for cat. But, in Galician, you would say, in some parts of Galicia, you would say hato. Like,
Hato.
see, and you can do it like much harder, or hato, or
Hato.
like the Spanish J. But it goes from the English J, house, much softer,
Mm-hmm.
to the Spanish J. This depends on the region, of course. And then we also have the ceseo, which means that I know less about ceseo, but it means that we sometimes do the S sound instead of the C sound.
Okay.
In Spanish, you would say, Castilian Spanish, you would say Cecilia.
Cecilia.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it is often pronounced as Cecilia, or Galician, Galician. That's the difference. And we would share that with many Latin American countries.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. That's so cool. You mentioned about, people not speaking this language, maybe with their parents, but maybe with their grandparents or their uncles, older relatives. So that makes me think that there has been some kind of change over time in the usage of the language and the status that Galician has held in Galicia. Can you tell me a little bit about how that status has evolved, and where are we now with seeing changes in the use of the language in the present day?
Yeah, the status has changed a lot, I'm afraid. We were talking about, I think the term is millenary language.
Hmm.
I'm using that correctly. Uh, at some point, when we speak about Galician in the past, we usually, because it had no name, the language, nor even Portuguese, so we often talk about their common as ancestor as Galician Portuguese. And we talk about Galician Portuguese when we talk about 1,000 years ago.
Hmm.
And that was the golden age of
Okay.
Galician Portuguese.
Okay.
It was spoken by kings, it was spoken by nobility. Um, we have written literature in Galician Portuguese. That was the golden era of the language. Of course, at some point, like many other places, we got absorbed by the Castilian crown. So they were not happy with us because Galician nobility kind of side with often with the rightful heir, but the losing heir,
Hmm.
the one that lost the throne. So
Yeah.
they kind of punish Galicians for
Oh
that
no.
around the 15th century. I don't want to lie. Yeah, I would say that's correct. A lot of stereotypes and prejudice started there, just linking Galicians to being peasants or rude, or it is funny. That's not the right word, but it is funny how weird the same things were said often about Galicians and Basques and Black people and Muslims. Like every time that we have this dominant power, we hear the same things
Mm.
about people that are different in
Yeah.
any way.
Yeah.
And it's always like they're no smart, they are no clean, they are no like, it's always the same.
Yeah.
After we got absorbed by the crown of Castile, we had some bumpy centuries where Galician kind of disappeared from all these circles. And at some point during the 19th century, 20th century, Galician was revitalized. We got new literature, and then we have a couple of dictatorships
Mm.
that add a lot of spiciness to the subject. Suddenly, it gets suppressed. Kids
Yeah.
are physically punished in
Mm.
schools for
Mm.
speaking it.
Mhm.
This is the context where my parents were born. Okay,
Okay.
it was happening when my parents were kids. Yeah. Now, after the end of the dictatorship, Francisco Franco's dictatorship, we get a new status with democracy. Galician becomes co-official. Not is It is one of Spain's co-official languages. It is only official and expected to be used in institutions in
Okay.
Galicia.
Okay.
And that's where we are right now. What are they doing nowadays to preserve it? That's a different story.
Okay.
But
Okay.
that would be like the the summary.
Mhm. I'm learning so much about Spanish history when it comes to language, as I've had a number of guests on the show from different regions of the geographical part of Spain, from the Basque region, from Galicia now, from yes. Oh my
Claro.
God. I'm like Barcelona. That's
That happens. That happens.
from Catalonia. And I'm fascinated by it. Not obviously not fascinated by the pain of your ancestors, your family, but I'm fascinated because I never learned about this in school. And we learn so much European history in school, kind of about the same as we learn of our own history in the United States. But I'm so fascinated and I'm so grateful to have these conversations with people like you who can talk about this and actually it's not in a book. You're talking about what has happened that you know about from your community and by people who you can reach out and touch. So it's living history. And I'm glad to see the other side of that and how people like yourself are taking the opportunity to make something beautiful come out of something that happened and was so painful for your community.
Yeah, I believe that's something that we all share as humans in this century. Like we all are rediscovering, in a way, our identity, or we are rediscovering parts of our identity or our history. It is just now that I'm learning because I'm creating content online. I'm also like you, trying to be in touch with more people from different parts of the world. Most of my students are from the United States because they have this link to their ancestors, this lost culture.
Mhm.
And it is just nowadays that I'm learning much more about the Native Americans, for instance, because I have a degree in history, but of course, when I study history, it was we study America from a very commercial
Mm.
point of view, like what the products we got from there and how these countries then got freed
Yeah.
from the Spanish rule. So you don't get deep into culture, you don't really learn about these societies.
Mhm.
There is always like these parts that are like invisible
Yeah.
until someone shines a light.
Yeah. Yeah. You're the shining light.
I wouldn't say that about myself, but thank you, El.
You're the shining light in this conversation, and I know we're gonna learn so much more. I wanna talk about some perceptions and some stereotypes that, you touched a little bit upon this before and a little earlier, but you talked about the perceptions of Galician and Galician speakers in this region. of the country. Tell us a bit about those and how people respond, react to those.
Yeah, yeah, it's hard. It's hard to speak about Galician without touching on this subject about prejudice because it is like I live it daily. Even when I go to class, we are a pretty mixed class. We are from half of us are from Galicia. We are a small classroom, and the other half are from Cuba and Colombia. We have like cultural clashes. We have
Mm.
very interesting conversations. Okay, you're going to laugh. One of them is that we can be a little undecisive. Yeah. We often use words such as maybe or it depends. I like to
Mm.
think that we are just a little more philosophical than others, but that might not be true. It's not like we speak in riddles, but maybe we do.
Mhm.
I'm not sure. So that's one of them. Like we are indecisive,
Mhm.
and that's not the most harmful one, of course, but it's still connected with the fact that they treat us like we're silly sometimes. So there is that. There's that. And another stereotype is that we are a little close-minded.
Mm.
I hardly disagree. I believe that when you come from countryside or certain regions, they automatically say, I'm sure it happens the same with people from the different states from your country. When you're from these particular regions or areas, they are going to say, oh, you're probably close-minded, or you're a brute, or you have no etiquette.
Mhm. Right.
You have no manners. Like this another stereotype would be that I don't know, though mostly the stereotypes that you would associate to the rural communities.
Mhm.
Uh, Yeah.
What are some things that you would say to counter those stereotypes? What do you want people to know about Galicians, about the culture that is experienced in this region of the country?
In my travels, I have learned that everybody believes that Spanish people in general, uh, bullfighting, flamenco, partying.
Mm.
I often have to explain that Galicia exists. I have to explain that there's Galicia and there's a language that
Mhm.
is different from Spanish. That's the first step. Then I have to explain what it is. And then I have to fight a little,
Mm.
like in a pretty calm way. I have to demonstrate, I have to show that I have like certain knowledge that is does not align with your knowledge,
Mm.
because people sometimes they will talk about, because when you start speaking about being Galician or being from Galicia, it's like it automatically starts a conversation about you denying being Spanish or
Mhm.
you rejecting being from Spain. And this is different for every person. Like I do feel more Galician than Spanish nowadays, but I'm not in a fight against Spain. I'm in a fight, as you said, against all these prejudices and stereotypes. I also hate them, of course. And when I find these people, what I do is try to show them. I just show them that we have Galician TV, we have Galician music, we have Galician movies, we have Galician newspapers. The situation is not ideal.
Mhm.
We're not doing as great as Welsh, I would say, or Catalan or Basque, but we exist. The statistics are being cruel lately, but we're trying to fight that because it is language is part of our way of living. Like it's always connected to culture, right? And and I connect that with with music. We have a really colorful folklore. Some of our folklore is connected to Portuguese folklore, Irish folklore, even like we call ourselves a Breogans nation. Breogan being an Irish king. We have Galician presence in Irish literature
Oh my
because,
gosh.
yeah, we have some kind of parallelisms between these two countries. We traditionally we talk about Irish being somewhat our ancestors. That like there is a little folklore about that. It's fun how these two mythologies
That's
are
so
connected.
cool.
Yeah, I believe I have mentioned that statistics have been a little cruel to us lately. We are kind of blaming the institutions for the situation, the current situation of the Galician language. So I'm going to read these two statistics because I think they are going to really show how things
Okay.
have changed over time.
Okay.
So in the past 5 years, the number of children and teenagers from 5 to 14 who do not speak Galician has doubled. Okay. Only in 5 years. And in this group, only the 7% consistently uses Galician. We are in a time of history where, for the first time in centuries, in 1,000 years, Spanish is the predominant language in Galicia, which is scary
Yeah.
for us, the people that speaks Galician want to be to speak it well in classrooms, the people that want to use them in papers, media, etc. It's a little scary. Even the Royal Galician Academy, which is the Galician standard Galician language institution, is like saying that it probably in the future 2 decades, it is possible that children just stop learning Galician, which is not
Scary.
good at all. Yeah, because a lot of languages are going to disappear. We know this in this century, like a lot, maybe half of them. It is really sad. But Galician was one of those. But in the next 2 decades, this was like a cultural shock for us.
Yeah.
And we are blaming, I have to say, to the inaction of the current Galician institutions, which side a lot with conservative pro-Castilian and Spanish speeches, unfortunately. So there is a lot of demonstrations nowadays. We had a huge one last November, and we will have another one for Rosalía de Castro Bay. Rosalía de Castro being our most renowned Galician poet. She talked about feminism, environment, being Galician, being a migrant. So the date has a lot of meaning for us. That's
Can you give me her? Can you give me her name again?
Of course, Rosalía de Castro.
De Castro. Okay.
Yeah.
Poet.
It's funny. When I was living in Italy, I talk about, well, why don't you do this paper to one of my kids about Rosalía, the Catalan singer. Do you know Rosalía?
I know the name, but I don't know the music.
Yeah, she has collaborations with Billie Eilish and a lot of famous international singers. I told my kid to do it about this Rosalía singer, and in the paper, he put Rosalía de Castro face, like from the previous century, like this black and white picture of this woman, like with another hairstyle, completely different. No, I was talking, it was more like Madonna. We're not talking about the same person. This is, when you go to Galicia, this is Rosalia, okay? This is our queen. No, we respect Catalan Rosalia.
Yeah. But
Different
it's
Rosalia.
different Rosalia. Oh my gosh. So we're going to be celebrating her poetry, Rosalia de Castro. We're going to be celebrating her on this day. So at what point were you going about your life and maybe noticing that these things were happening? And you said, it's my turn to bring awareness to what's going on. It's my turn to talk about this history of the language and make sure that I'm keeping it safe and I'm keeping it protected for people in my community and for the next generation.
When you become an adult, step foot for the first time outside home, maybe travel a little or go to college, I realized that, oh, a lot of things that I have learned have been a lie, or maybe there are more barriers than I thought, or I myself am more different from the other regions that I knew.
Mhm.
And this happened to me when I was 19 and I went to college. I moved from the most Castellanized part of Galicia to Santiago de Compostela, which is Galicia's capital,
Mhm.
capital city. And here, people from all over Galicia will come to go to college. We will have Galician lessons and Spanish lessons. I meant subjects both in Galician and
Mhm.
Spanish,
Okay.
depending on the faculty. And yeah, I realized that I was having a hard time understanding very different accents of some words. And it was just not that I didn't want to speak Galician. I was not fluent at all. I realized that I didn't want to be like that. Just, oh, I'm not speaking the language from my country, from my region. This has to change. So I started to write in Galician. I started to consume Galician music. I made friends from all over Galicia, and they were patient to me. We do this thing that in many parts of Europe, people that come from abroad, maybe they try to speak our language, but as soon as we see that they are kind of like a little difficulty with something, like we will change to the main languages, which
Mm,
would be like, in our case, Spanish, or if we know English, to English.
yeah.
So Galicians are like polite like that. Like they see that you're from abroad, they are not going to speak in Galician, even if you want them to. So yeah, it was then. It was then that I decided that I could learn it. I learned too much. I learned that it was not just a language. Our folklore was disappearing. Our
Mhm.
culture was disappearing. And I imagine not really knowing your anthem or being able to identify the Galician anthem and stuff like that, which was basic. So it was a huge cultural shock to me to go to
Yeah.
college in my region,
Yeah.
which sounds insane.
No, yeah, it's when you say Santiago de Compostela, I think of some place that welcomes a lot of people from around the world, not just from around Europe. And it's such a huge site for pilgrimage for a lot of people, and
Yes.
people's lives change in Santiago de Compostela. And I can imagine that being a place where you went for the first time and it just rocked your whole world and it just made you look at things differently and understand things differently. So you were one of those people too who came to this city and your whole life changed for the better. I'm glad that you went back to talking about folk tales and folk history. I'd love to hear more about that and what are some of the special parts or not so special parts of Galician folk tales, folklore, and folk history, and some of those things that you want to help preserve.
I'm really a geek about Galician mythology. You have to excuse me because I could probably highlight other parts of our culture. But I do really love Galician mythology. We are famously known, at least in the peninsula, Spain, at least, for our witchy culture, like witches and megas, that could be the word, are not the same.
Mhm.
A mega could also be just a woman that is very wise and shares their talent, healing knowledge
Yeah.
with the village. But they can also be like these really bad witches. We even have like megas tutonas, which could be like a mix between a vampire and a witch, which is really fun. And they were used to scare people, not people, kids particularly.
Yeah.
That would be like our, what do you call it? Like visible character that he calls from the cabbage in North America. Oh God, in Nightmare Before Christmas, there is this character.
Oh.
Boogie Boogie.
Boogie Boogie. Oh my God.
I should rewatch that one.
Like, it kind of like the boogeyman.
Boogeyman, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Megas Tutonas, this mix of vampire and witches, could be them a little like our boogeyman, but we also have like common folk creatures with Irish. We do have werewolves, mermaids. There's this particular mermaid that I loved, Marushaina. She is often depicted as good and bad, like everything in Galicia. In Galicia, we are really indecisive. So it's the typical mermaid that drowns sailors with her singing, but it's also the savior that calms the storm. Like, this happens a lot in our folklore. And then we have Santa Compania, which could be like a procession of souls. Let's just say that if you see them, that's a really bad omen. I don't know if you have seen the Harry Potter movies at some point.
Yes.
Are you familiar with the Grimm?
Yes. Oh.
We have our Grimm. It's called Urko. And the Urko would be like this tail dog that would come from the seashore, like dragging these chains. And it would also be a really bad omen if you see it. And it also has like fiery eyes, and it's often depicted either black or white.
Okay.
Really long ears. That could be our shell dog.
So when it's black versus white, is it a different kind of omen depending on the color that it is?
That's a good question. I don't know specifically with the Urco, but we have this a lot in Galicia, and black and white is not often good and bad. And we are also like Irish people, a culture where death is very present.
Present, yeah.
And it's not always seen as something bad.
Okay.
It's also like a celebration. And for instance, one of our traditional beliefs is that butterflies and moths are the souls of the departed. Yeah, I believe that in that particular case, yes, it's a black moth that could mean darkness, evil spirit, evil presence. But it's not always like that, because a black death, I don't think a black death, it's a bad thing, for instance. It's the opposite.
Okay.
So we have that ambivalence a lot in our mythology.
So as you're working to preserve the language, you're working to spread awareness of what's happening and the language being overtaken by Castilian Spanish. Have you noticed efforts that are happening in the communities, and what people are doing about what people are doing to preserve the language and push it forward and ensure that it's being used regularly?
Yeah, I do believe that. We do have a conservative party that kind of rules all. So it can even like, choose the laws without the support of other parties, because that's how huge its presence is. But even within this society, efforts are being made. That one of my huge cultural shocks when I grew up was discovered that there was so much Galician music. Galician music is nowadays living one of its best times ever because we are precisely combining folk music, traditional music,
Mm-hmm.
with the tambourine and the bagpipes and all of it, with new sounds and modern
Oh,
music,
okay.
electronic music, rap music. Galician is gaining and having more presence in all these new uh,
Mm-hmm.
genres. Um,
Yeah.
and that's just music. I discovered that there were Galician YouTubers, which was like mind blowing to me. Galician YouTubers, Galician content creators. I have only been on Instagram since 2022. I have been learning Galician as an adult since 2014, 2015, but it was until 2 years ago that I started with social media,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like, we have bookstagrammers. We have
Yeah.
Galician bookstagrammers. There's this huge and kind community of Galician content creators, Galician writers, Galician youth, Galician cultural associations doing a lot to preserve these mythological figures such as the Apalpador and these festivities. And they are doing so much. I
Mm.
believe that without all this work, a new generation of Galician speakers would just be lost
Mm.
if the Galician people did not do what it needs to be done.
Yeah.
That's not enough, of course. It's going to disappear from the households and school.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not required for working, or it's even look as, oh, you're going to speak that at work, they are not going to understand you. You should speak that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a cultural wave that it's like huge and very important in this fight against, like monolingualism.
Yeah. Yeah. I love to hear that. I love that there are so many people from all different disciplines who are doing their part to spread the language and to use the language. We need to use Galician and we need people to see us using it so that they know that they don't have to feel ashamed. They don't have to feel uneducated. They can feel empowered to move forward and speak their language. Dani, please tell us where we can find you on social media and how we can get in touch with you too, so that we, whether we are Galician or not, whether we can learn some of the language.
Everybody's welcome. I really love when people approach me with questions. I always try to, spread Galician. I'm always happy to answer to everybody. People can contact me directly to my email account, Galician with Dani at gmail.com. But I'm also present on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, and now Blue Sky. Always, you can always find me by Galician with Dani.
Thank you for sharing that. I will add links to your platforms to the show notes for this episode so that people who are listening can click and get in touch with you and follow you. Follow Dani. Follow you right away.
Thank you so much, Shirley. It's been a pleasure to
Yeah,
talk to you. Really.
absolutely. I want to ask you about food, of course,
Oh, yeah.
because I'm not letting you go anywhere if we're not talking about popo a la
Oh,
galego, because I
for
know
sure.
I know you're not a fan of the
I
octopus.
am not. I am not. And it's not just that octopus is one of Galicia's main dishes.
Oh,
We also have in my town a particular way to cook it,
okay.
which is famous. So I'm like not just hating Galician gastronomy, I'm also hating my village, my
Oh,
little town's
no.
gastronomy.
Mhm.
People are all often like, "How do you not like octopus?" I'm just, I'm not a fan of the taste I get, but we are known for so much more than octopus.
Mm,
I do like Galician cuisine. For instance, we do have Mediterranean diet, but it's more Atlantic, of course.
Okay.
We are fishermen. We work the fields. Vegetables and fish are a great part of our diet.
Hmm.
And I would say our famous dishes include often seafood, especially during Christmas, but we have fish and seafood all year around, barnacles, octopus, octopi, etc. And then we are really well known for our cheeses. Like we have nice varieties and are like protected because of the way they are done and their uniqueness.
Hmm.
And queso de Artua, queso de San Simón, queso de Tetilla are some of them.
Hmm.
And then the white wines, we are known for having great wines. Ribeiro, Godejo are some of them. We also have queimada. Now that I'm talking alcoholic drinks,
Okay.
queimada could be like a spirit. It could burn a little,
Oh.
but it comes like with a ritual because you would get like ritualistic around this
Oh.
fiery beverage. Actually, the last time that I saw someone prepare queimada was during my brother's wedding. His now father-in-law made like this spell around the beverage and started this chant that was kind of bleak, but it was like festive at the same time. It was like a huge thing.
Yeah.
And queimada is it's like something very particular of our region. And then the desserts, like I particularly love the desserts that are linked to Entroido, which would be our carnival. We have filloas,
Mhm.
which I'm always trying to find like a cultural similar thing, just because I want you to try to picture it.
Okay.
And so filloas or shows, it has many names. It could be like crepes, but
Oh.
traditional crepes,
Uh-huh.
they are prepared differently or they have other ingredients. I'm no expert because in my house we are team orellas, which is the other big carnival dessert.
Okay.
Orellas literally means ears, all right?
Oh.
Because of the shape.
Okay.
They are these crispy pastries that you would eat during Carnival. I don't know. I just love Carnival desserts. I cannot wait this year. After being in Italy and abroad for so much time, I'm really happy that I'm here experiencing Galicia and our cuisine.
Tell me about the queimada. Is that something that people make themselves at home?
No, I wouldn't say that people make it at home. I would say that you would go to a restaurant or a
Okay.
bar and you would order it. Usually a drink that you would something special, like
Okay.
you would do like with more people. There is like this fire element,
Mhm.
and I don't think there's always a chant in the restaurant in that ritualistic way, but it is, in every festivity there's a chance, so a very good chance that there's a queimada.
Okay. So queimada is it the alcohol itself or is it the ritual?
Oh, I think that it's the name of the alcoholic drink, but if
Okay.
you're doing queimada, it might imply that you're doing the
To
ritual.
ruin the ritual. Okay.
So that's a good question. I
Okay.
think I would say like doing queimada also,
Mhm.
the ritual also.
Okay. That's why I was asking because I was thinking if there's a ritual attached, maybe it's something that people make at home themselves, or there's a tradition of making it in in the home. Maybe each family has their own different way of making it. And then when you said it's like it burns, it made me think of like grappa in
Yeah.
Italy or in like what's the Brazilian one called? It's like a very harsh high
I,
alcohol
I feel like
content.
you're not a fan of these beverages.
Oh, no, I am,
Yeah,
but
you are. I
says a
will
lot of
comment.
says a lot about me, but no, it just makes me think of, something that's ritualistic, maybe might have might be made at home, might be made by families in order to participate in this ritual. So I was just curious if it's something you can go buy at the store or if it's something that, like the house wine at a
I don't really know.
okay.
This is one of the many traditions that I discovered as a grown up.
Mm.
And then I saw in Santiago, but for me it was like completely new. So I'm not sure about the origin of.
So Galicia, we have a lot of seafood and it's not just octopus, even though that is my favorite. I'm sorry. My favorite.
It's fine. I respect that you have your interest. Just not like.
What are maybe for you, because this is your story, and you actually said that you've been away for a while. Now you're happy to be back at home. You're happy to be back at home. What were some things that you were craving while you were living away?
Are wines, but especially cheese. I
Mm.
really like cheese. Like I was living in Italy, and so for me coming back,
Oh,
I really like cheeses there, but I
yeah.
also miss Galician cheeses, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah, yeah.
Some of our particularities, like we have these peppers,
Mm.
pimentos of padrón. We have a saying, uns
Mhm.
pican, otros no, that I'm going to translate as some of them are hot and some of them are not.
Oh. Oh.
So it's like a game, like you will order these padron peppers, the one that finds the spiciest pepper,
Mhm.
they will have to pay. And most of them, these padron peppers are like mild, we would say,
Mhm.
they are not spicy, but
Mhm.
then there is always this one that will kill you. So if you happen to eat this padron pepper, there is a good chance that you have to pretend that anything weird is happening on your mouth,
Mhm.
inside
Mhm.
your body,
Yeah, yeah.
because that could mean that you would have to pay.
Mhm.
And these little things, like the
So funny.
chestnuts in Magosto, the peppers,
Mhm.
with friends, are like
Mhm.
things that I miss.
Yeah, yeah. What time is dinner?
In Spain, pretty late.
Mhm.
And in Galicia, kind of the same, like around 9, 10
Mhm.
p.m., which is late.
Mhm.
We do have a lot of sun,
Mhm.
even in Galicia, not as much as the other regions of Spain, but
Mhm.
we should have the same schedule as Portugal and the United Kingdom. But I believe that due to political
Yeah.
reasons, we share the same one as Madrid, Berlin, Milan, and all
Mhm.
the European capitals.
Okay.
So we have dinner pretty late. We woke up in the middle of the night to go to work. Those things are also typical.
That's the one thing I could not get with when I visited Spain, just how late dinner was, because I was starving. I was so hungry.
Me too. I'm starving all the time, but after living abroad, I got used to eat earlier.
Earlier.
I particularly live in Finland, and I believe in Europe is where they eat earlier than anybody else. So
Mhm.
that was a shock to me. Like I had to do some pre-dinner or I wouldn't survive.
I like to ask this question. Is there a dish that you've noticed or that you think, your opinion, that everybody thinks they make the best version of?
All right. I couldn't say we have that. I think we have a lot of different ways of preparing the same dishes, but I wouldn't say there's an open competition between two great contestants.
Mhm.
We do not have that. I think we share with Spain the the tortilla fight, which
Mm.
is with onion or without onion.
Oh, okay.
There is only one right answer
Okay.
for me.
Mhm.
It should be with onion always.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely. Yeah.
like you have to add a little flavor.
Yeah. Do
Yeah,
people not put onions in their tortilla?
not always. there's always someone that has no manners. No, I'm just kidding, of course. I respect people not who want pin onion on their dishes. I respect it, of course. And I think in Galicia, we are very pro onion. Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, we're really proud of our seafood. Our seafood is demanded in other parts and regions of Spain,
Mhm.
but I don't think there's a huge clash between
Okay.
dishes and food.
Okay. The tortilla was one of my pandemic lockdown cooking projects that I probably made 5 of them before I got it right, and I always put onions in it because, duh, you need onions.
You need them.
You need onions.
Please,
No, this
like
is the
three ingredients.
yeah, it's so simple. I'm scandalized that people are not putting onions in. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there's always this brand. If this person does not want the onions, you will have
Mhm.
to be okay. So no onions in this. Yeah, so
Oh no.
the non-onion friend. Do you have them?
I love onions anyway. I could eat onions like in everything. I love onions.
Good. We think the same. Then.
Tell me for you, just to have a little fun with this. If you had a perfect day of eating, your breakfast, your lunch, and your dinner, all Galician dishes, what would you choose?
Delicious. I guess I could. I don't. I cannot think about a Galician breakfast
Mm,
dish.
okay.
We have a lot of cheese and dairy
Hmm.
products. I
Yeah.
meant so I could include some fruit and yogurt to my breakfast. What else? I could like to have some snack. I go to the cafeteria of the center where I'm studying, and I would have a bocadillo or tortilla because I want to have some snack during the day. Then I go as for lunch. I don't love Spanish paella, so I would avoid that, and I would go for other options such as meat. We are also known for beef and pork.
Hmm.
And I love fried potatoes.
Me
I
too.
shouldn't love them that much. And then I feel for me, maybe it's because of Christmas. I also know that for me, because here Christmas Eve is bigger than the Christmas Day.
Yeah.
All right. So Christmas dinner is the day before Christmas.
Hmm.
Christmas Eve dinner. It
Yeah.
is.
Hmm.
And maybe it's because of that, but for me, like seafood, like these fancy seafood dishes are something that for me, they are like dinner. Like
Mm.
you can also have them for lunch, of course, but I feel like seafood for me is like a special, something for a special days.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
my perfect day should have some seafood, not octopus, of course. That's
I will
seafood life.
gladly take it from you. It's I'll save you from the from having to eat octopus,
And
Danny.
thank you for your sacrifice.
It's my pleasure. It is my pleasure, not a sacrifice for me at all. Danny, I want to thank you so much again for this conversation. I've learned so much from you. I still have so many more questions to ask you. You have just like really opened a door for me and hopefully for our guests to learning more about Galician language and culture and why it's so precious and so important. Thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you, El. Thank you for giving me your platform to share about my culture, about my identity a little more. I
Absolutely.
really appreciate it.
I'd like to end each episode with the same question, which is, do you have any jokes, popular sayings, tongue twisters, cool slang words, idioms, words of wisdom, or words of advice in Galician to share and to teach us?
All right. We do have some idioms and sayings that are really popular because I believe they talk about our resilient identity. Like There is one of them is Etse okay. Etse okay.
Etse okay.
Etse okay. It means it is what it is. It's pretty simple. People often say Galicians, they just are okay with everything. They are not going to fight back or truly have an opinion. I don't know if it has to do a little with the undecisiveness. They think we are all kind of torn. But to me, it's okay. It is what it is. Talks about being resilient and accepting the hard parts of life, the hard times. They are going to happen, and sometimes you just have to accept them. Another saying that it's also working on that direction would be nunca choveu que non escampara. This is longer and more complex, but it means that there's always a silver lining. It's about rain. Rain is a huge part of our vocabulary and our idioms and sayings. And sayings are jokes and humor. We have London weather, you see. And it's also, it means that, there's always like some hope after the darkest of, of the life. And sometimes we just like to taunt a little with fate and we just say, malo será, which it literally means it will be bad. But it's like saying there is not that level of possibility that would happen. You would have to be in a really bad place that malo será. It could be bad that could happen, but it's probably not going to.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like almost ritualistic, like we say it every time, every day. Malo será.
So we've got malo será. We've got etse okay.
Eche.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then please teach me the long one.
Oh, nunca choveu.
Nunca.
Nunca.
Nunca
Choveu. Que non escampara.
Nunca choveu que non escampara.
Perfect. That was perfect. And it could be literally translated as it's never rained, but it didn't stop later. Escampar means to stop raining.
To stop raining. I wrote it down phonetically so that I could
That's fine. That's completely normal. We do have the chat sound, the gesture chat. We have that sound as well. Choiva, choveu, chuvia, chuva. A lot of words. So this is also a typical sound.
Chuvia would be like lluvia. Would be like shuvia in Argentina.
Exactly.
Okay. Whoa.
Yeah.
I'm on a roller coaster.
You're like, it's all related. Yeah.
Related. It's exciting for me when I can hear it without seeing it. So if you're saying chuvia and I'm like, wait, that sounds like something I know, that's a stepping point for me. So I feel really excited that I'm taking my first steps with Galician and understanding when I'm hearing certain words and trying to guess and understand what they mean. So I'm pumped. I'm excited.
Yeah, you should. You're learning Spanish and you have learned Italian before, right? So you're going to see more and more connections.
Yeah.
We also share a lot of words with Italian, like vento, terra, neve, snow, wind, soil, like pretty basic words.
Yeah, I love those. I love those connections. I love them. Dani, this has been tremendous, as I said. Before I let you go, if you're in Galicia, whether you're in Santiago de Compostela, you're in your village, you are at the beach, wherever you are, Let's say if you've been having a conversation with someone for a long time, but now it's time for you to go your separate ways. What is the best way in Galician to say goodbye?
Are we talking about a goodbye for good?
Hopefully
No.
not.
If you want to say goodbye, that could be adeus, that you might
Adeus.
recognize
Mhm,
because of your Spanish,
mhm,
adios.
mhm.
And also, it's like referring to God, adeus, Dios,
Adeus.
adios.
Mhm.
Uh, but, we are like Irish and Italians, we share that longing, especially with goodbyes because of migration. So I I I would say if you want to see again the other person, you can say adeus. That could be like really like the end of it. We
Mhm.
don't want that. So to say see you, that could be Beica logo.
Decalog
Beica
de
logo.
decalogo.
Exactly. So that could
De
be not a really good vibe. See you. We will see.
Dani decalogo.
Beica
Decalogo.
logo. Beica logo. And
Thank you so much again, and I'll be talking to you soon. Bye.
thank you so much, Al.
New episodes of Speaking Tongues are available every Monday, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and to like and share episodes with other language lovers like ourselves.